Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the topic that is the basic metabolic pathway in higher plants. That is the fifth semester pharmacognosy, the unit 1. So today I am going to discuss about that is the topic that is the basic metabolic pathway in higher plants. So our topic is the basic metabolic pathway in higher plants. First thing we have to know about what is basic metabolic pathway. What is metabolic pathway? Before going to discuss about this metabolic pathway, we have to know about that is the metabolic reactions. We know that in living cells there are many kinds of chemical reactions occur. In metabolic reaction it is nothing but it is the chemical reactions it is chemical reactions occurred in living cells. That is said to be the metabolic reactions. Then what is metabolic pathway? Metabolic pathway, that is the nothing but that is the series of chemical reactions within the cells. That is the metabolic pathway. So basically here the series term, what is the meaning of this series? Series means the chemical reactions. These chemical reactions comes one after another. That indicates the series of chemical reactions within the cells. Am I clear what I am trying to say? Series means that chemical reactions come one after another. That is said to be the metabolic pathway. Don't be confused with the metabolic reactions and metabolic pathways. That means metabolic pathway, that is nothing but it is also a chemical reactions. That means here the mention here that is the series of chemical reactions. Series means these chemical reactions comes one after another. That is the metabolic pathway. Am I clear? Then here mention that is the higher plants. It indicates that means this metabolic pathway it is happening in higher plants. That means here higher plants means what does it mean? It means these higher plants having the vascular tissue, If you give the examples, that is nothing but that is the angiosperm, that is the flowering plants. What does it mean? It means it is flowering plants. Clear? So basically we have gone through this topic, that is the basic metabolic pathway in higher plants. First we just discussed here that is the metabolic reactions. Then after discussed we just here that is the metabolic pathway. Then that is the higher plants. Clear? Okay. Then we'll go next portion, that is the primary metabolites and that is the secondary metabolites. Before going to that topics, we have to know about this. What does that mean? What does it mean? That is the metabolic, that means it is relating to metabolism. Clear? Metabolism is nothing but it is the chemical reactions. Chemical reactions which produce food from energy. Or you can write it is a chemical reaction produces energy from food. Clear? That means the metabolic means that is nothing but that is the metabolism. It is a chemical reaction. That means it is a chemical reaction that produces energy from the food. Then after that we are just going to discuss about the what is primary metabolites and what is secondary metabolites. Before going to discuss about the primary metabolites and secondary metabolites, we have to know about the meaning, that is the metabolites. What is metabolites? Metabolites nothing but it is the intermediate and end product of metabolism, that is the metabolites. Then we go through the topics, that is the primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. We know that you have question in your mind, that is the how the plants prepare foods itself and how it protects from sunlight, UV light, or you can say the foreign particles, bacteria, fungi attacks, how it protects from them. So basically it is nothing but that is the because of this protect from these secondary metabolites, and just for their growth and development, for their survive, that is the primary metabolites. Clear? So first thing here, what is primary metabolites? Primary metabolites basically it is produced by the plants. It is produced by the plants. It is produced by the plants during growth phase. During growth phase, it is produced by the plants during growth phase. I think you have already studied about in 4th semester. That means that is the primary difference between the primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Here I am only I can tell here that is the basic of primary and secondary, so that you can guess that is the difference between what is the difference between the primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Primary metabolites, that is produced by the plants during the growth phase. Its main functions is the main function is the helps in growth and developments of the plants, and helps also in the reproduction process. That is the primary metabolites. Examples, that is the carbohydrates, lipids, fats, proteins. These are the examples of the primary metabolites. Secondary metabolites, it is produced during the stress condition. During stress conditions. It is produced during stress conditions. It is you can say it is derived from the primary metabolites. It is derived from the primary metabolites. Clear? it mainly helps in foreign particles, foreign particles like bacteria, fungi, virus. It protects from the UV lights. Examples, that is the alkaloids, glycosides, resins, etc. So basically, you have a question in your mind that why we are studying here these primary and secondary metabolites. So my point is that here how these alkaloids and glycosides are produced in the plants, and how these protein, carbohydrates, fats, lipids are produced from these plants. We can study here how these secondary metabolites forms and how these primary metabolites are forms. So unit 1, that is the basic. Here the concept is the basic metabolic pathway. That means metabolic pathway, that means involves these primary metabolic pathway and the secondary metabolic. That means how these alkaloids, glycoside, resins, tannins are produced from the plants, how the plants is prepared foods like the that is the carbohydrates, glucose, how the plants is prepared. So we can study here. Clear? So here we are going to discuss about the basic metabolic pathway, right? So that is the basic metabolic pathway. That means uh, you have already discussed about, or you have already studied in class 12, or you can say class 10, that is the photosynthesis process, how the plants prepare their foods by the help of sunlight, water, and basically CO2. That is the you have already discussed about. So basically, in the presence of water and CO2, plant prepare what prepare plant prepare sugar, or you can say the carbohydrates, or you can say the carbohydrates, right? So basically this is nothing but this is the photosynthesis process. That means here, by the help of these sugars, by the help of this glucose, plants make energy. You have already discussed about, you have already studied about, that is the biochemistry. That means by the help of this glucose, plant made, or plant performed, that is the glycolysis process. What is glycolysis process? Another is the PPT, pentose, that is the pentose phosphate pathway. Clear? Basically, your question is here in unit 1. If you go through this syllabus, there is the point, that is the Shikimic acid pathway, that is the acetate pathway is there. But where it is coming, you just wait and watch. So how this Shikimic acid, where it is, and how it comes, how it is involved in this metabolic pathway, right? So basically, by the help of this sugar or glucose, the glycolysis process is happening, and the pentose phosphate pathway is happening. That is the glycolysis is nothing but, that is the ATP formations. That is the means by the use of glucose, that is the how the glucose is break down and use this glycolysis process, and used in the plant process. Clear? Okay. Basically, we have discussed that water plus CO2 in the presence of sunlight, glucose is made. That glucose or sugar, that is the glycolysis process is happening. Glycolysis process further. What is the first step? What is the intermediate product of glycolysis? That is the phosphoenol pyuruvate. What is the end product? That is the pyruvic acids. Pyruvic acids. Another thing that is the glycolysis process. Another thing that is the pyruvic acid, that is the converted to acetyl coenzyme. Another thing that is the pentose phosphate pathway, PPP. Here that is the pentose 4 phosphates, erythrose 4 phosphates. Clear? Erythrose 4 phosphates. So that is the pentose phosphate pathway, mainly responsible for the production or formation of the nucleosides, nucleotides. That is the formation of ribose. That is the DNA and RNA. Right? Clear? So basically this acid, I'm going to discover how the photosynthesis process, that means in the presence of water and CO2, glucose is prepared. You know about that the leaves contain the chloroplast and chlorophyll contain chloroplast. Their chloroplasts absorb the sunlight, and by the help of the sunlight, water and CO2 mix and formation of glucose. By the help of glucose, glycolysis process is happening. You have already discussed about that. You have already know about, or you have already studied in I think second semester biochemistry, that is the glycolysis process, phosphoenol pyruvate, that is first thing, the intermediate product, and that is the pyruvic acid is converted to pyruvate, then last the acetyl coenzyme. This acetyl coenzyme, what it will do? It will enters the mitochondria and make the Krebs cycle and or the citric acid cycles or the Krebs cycles. Acetyl coenzyme. These acetyl coenzymes enters into the mitochondria, right? Then these erythrose 4 phosphate pathway and the acetyl coenzyme pathway, they are condensed and form the Shikimic acid pathway. Clear? How the connection will be there, how the connection is there. Okay, so this we have to target this Shikimic acid pathway. This Shikimic acid pathway mainly responsible for the formation of the alkaloids, right? It mainly formation of the aromatic amino acids. That is the Shikimic acid pathway. What happens to this photosynthesis process? Water plus carbon dioxide, photosynthesis process is there. Glucose is made. Then after that, glycolysis process is there. By this glycolysis process, by the help of this glucose, glycolysis process will be happen. You know that glucose 6 phosphate, glucose 6 phosphate, fructose 6 phosphate is there. That is the cycles. You have already studied in the basically second sem. So basically, what happens in glycolysis process? Phosphoenol pyruvate, that is the intermediate product. After that, pyruvic acid is formed. Then say acetyl coenzyme. This is the end product of the glycolysis. Then the acetyl coenzyme product. This acetyl coenzymes further it enters to the mitochondria. binds with the basically two carbon atoms, and it will binds with the, and that makes and that run the that makes and that run the Krebs cycle, that is the metabolic process, mainly helps in production of the glucose, or mainly production, sorry, glucose, right? That is the ATP, right? uh, right. And after that, this pentose phosphate is nothing but nucleosides, is the ribose making, it is mainly for formation of DNA and RNA. This pentose phosphate, that is the intermediate product, erythrose 4-phosphate. These and these acetyl coenzyme, no, sorry, these erythrose 4-phosphates and phosphoenol pyruvate combined and condensed to form this Shikimic acid pathway. Clear? So that's about the metabolic acid pathway.